Cheers, queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our scene-by-scene breakdown of Pluto the Series, and today we will be continuing episode 2 of Pluto and jumping into part 3 if you're watching it on YouTube. If it's still on YouTube. I hear they're taking it off of YouTube.
Well, wherever you're watching it, it's
Yeah.
part 3, unless it's all in one and in the other platform. I don't know. Who knows
I don't
what's
know.
gonna happen?
I feel like they
As
got
of originally airing on YouTube, this is
Correct.
part 3 of that episode.
I hope that made sense. So, we're gonna dive into that. Just another quick plug for our merch giveaway. Go follow us on our social medias. At the time of recording, we still don't have that all worked out, but it will be worked out on our social media platforms. So check that out if you want to win a Pluto mug or a candle that was actually from GMMTV. We're just doing a giveaway in celebration of Pluto.
It's gonna be great. They look really cool.
They do. They're really
Don't
cute.
miss it.
Yeah.
Follow us at Big Gay Energy Pod on every single social media platform.
That's right.
Possible for us to post on.
Yep.
All right.
Let's do it. Okay, so part 3 of episode 2. So we pick up where we left off, which is that May and I's bus ride has ended, and now they're walking down the sidewalk next to a busy road. And in doing so, May is using her walking stick to navigate by feeling this grooved path that's built into the sidewalk that's designed to help people that are visually impaired navigating the sidewalk. And in the translation, they call it Braille blocks, which is not something I'd ever heard of because sidewalks in America are hazardous for people who can see. And as far as I know, I mean, I've never seen
very
them.
accurate.
I've never seen them. We do not invest in public infrastructure, so good on you, Thailand, for even having this. In America, it's everyone for themselves. It's terrible.
Most of our sidewalks just like end abruptly
randomly.
And then there's just grass or a highway.
It's absolutely horrible. So anyways, I appreciate this. So they're walking along, and while they're walking, May is explaining to I what her lived experience as a blind person has been like. So a big thing is that common day-to-day things that she used to do, like navigating a sidewalk, suddenly became way more difficult. And she gives a couple examples, like I tried to use public transportation, I tried to use an elevator, and sometimes they're locked or they don't have Braille. And so all around, like, the way her life completely changed, and she's having this new experience and perspective that she wouldn't have had otherwise. And as she's explaining this, May almost walks into a street sign that is hanging, like the edges of which is hanging directly into the Braille block path. Which is...
That was terrible construction, especially on a path that's literally for people who cannot see.
This is something you'd expect to find in America, basically.
Yes.
Right?
We do not do well with accessibility.
Yeah, but thankfully I, the protector, was there to yank her back before anything happens. And something I learned about this scene through social media, and like, please correct me if I'm wrong, I saw this buzzing around, with that apparently this was a real location in Thailand, and the show brought awareness to this hazardous sign, so the city removed it. Because of Pluto.
Power of media, man.
So like, good on you. Yay GMMTV. You're changing the world one lesbian at a time. Love it.
One sign at a time. The sign is lesbian.
That's right. And then May's like, see, this is literally what I was just telling you. And because like her point is like, look, the thing that I do have, the meager tools that are built in for me or were added for me to navigate, like these Braille blocks, aren't even 100% safe and effective, because look at this. The bottom line is that, as you know, she's speaking about Thailand and Bangkok specifically, but this has broader implications that city infrastructure in our current civilizations are designed for able-bodied people. And I'm really glad that this series made a point to show that through May, like using an actual example in Bangkok, to be like, look, this is the point we're making, this is real. And I love that they did that, because this was built into the show. Like in the novel, none of this was discussed because May's faking her blindness in the novel. But like in the show, they were like, look, we're gonna make real points with this disabled character. And I think it's interesting to have May, who like has the perspective pre and post her visual impairment to like make the commentary, and then you have I, who's like everybody else who doesn't have that lived experience that's watching this, like myself included, is like learning this and processing this through I, who's like hearing this from May. So I like that they had this in here. I thought that was a really important point that they were making with this series.
Yeah, and I understand that there's some people who do feel like this the representation still isn't like the best,
Which is fair.
but yeah, there's always so much that can be done with representation. It's just we just don't have enough of it. And yeah, like people think that the blindness was used more as like a plot device, but I really do love this scene and the scenes like this because we do get a couple even later on as well where you do see how exactly people are affected. And I did some more research into accessibility in Thailand, and this Bangkok is supposed to be better than the rural areas. That's anywhere you go to. But this is just showing you that even in the place that has the most accessibility features, there's still the downfalls, like the pitfalls. And there is stuff in place that are like May will talk about it in a little bit, but the universal design, it's still not widely developed. And even in Bangkok, like you never know if the bus stops will have all the features. You don't even know going out. And so like it has to be even more terrifying for them.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, I agree with those who are like, this is not an accurate representation. It's like, that's valid, like, absolutely valid. I credit GMMTV for trying to do this at all because from the source material, none of this was in there. So, like, they tried to
Yeah.
give you the perspective of May with her visual impairment. So I applaud them for doing that at all because there's zero representation in the novel. Zero. Because the character wasn't blind when the story was happening.
Yeah. Ciao. Thank you, GMMTV.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. And then we get conversations about this because, to your point, then May explains this to I, who's like learning all this for the first time, and she discusses the concept of universal design, which is something I'd never heard of until this show. So, like, again, like, even though it's not perfect, they brought up some concepts that I think were worth bringing up, and that gave me a new perspective. And the way May explains it is basically instead of designing society infrastructure like, sidewalks from the point of view of the most capable, so able-bodied people, it's designed from the point of view of the least capable. And basically what that means is by doing that, we're eliminating the concept of disability because because that space is designed for everybody to function in it no matter their means of doing so, means of navigating, whether you're visually impaired or not, whether you're wheelchair bound or not. It's designed for everyone. Therefore, it's universally accessible. And that eliminates this concept of disability entirely, which is a very utopian concept, basically. And with that, May's like, do you see now, the way the world is not made for me to exist safely? And do you understand now why I'm so afraid to leave my mansion? Because she does, again, we discussed this in the last episode, but she designs her house, her living quarters, to be a safe space for her. It is universally accessible to her specifically, so there's no fear. But then the minute she leaves, she has to go back into a world that is not designed for her to exist safely and freely. And she's like, that makes me afraid. Look, I almost got taken out by a street sign. Like, do you see why I don't leave my mansion? It's dangerous, which is so sad.
Oh, it's so, so sad. I mean, just again, the awareness, like, we're thinking about this now.
Exactly.
We see it. It's great.
Did you have anything to add about the universal design?
No, just that there's an organization that I don't remember off the top of my head that is advocating for it. And there was an act passed, but it's still just like not enforced everywhere.
Is it through who? Through in America or like
Thailand.
Thailand. Okay, gotcha. I don't, yeah. Okay, so as May's explaining all of this, I is completely enraptured because May is very passionately talking about this. And like I is into it. Like anytime May gets super passionate about anything, like her like human rights stuff, like you could tell she's very passionate about it and very passionate about like changing things and making them better. And I is like literally it's like catnip. She's like, "Tell me more." But then Pang shows up, and Pang, like,
Huh.
yeets I out of the conversation against her will. And poor May. And it's really sad because what May says next is really interesting because so I's yeeted away, and then May's just standing there talking to no one because Pang. And she's like, "Well, I'm really grateful that I became blind because it gave me this new perspective." And she keeps going, and like poor I, like, oh my god, it's so unfortunate because like I literally would have eaten this shit up because she then starts talking about she joined another group called the Lawyers Council for Disabled People, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to hear about this? Because you were really into that other lawyers association and you called me cool. So you'll also think this is cool." And I agree, May. I think I would have thought this is really fucking cool, but freaking Pang came in and like interrupted this. And I feel really bad for May because she's so hopeful. Because she's like, "You like my other thing. You'll probably like this too." And I think I would have like swooned over this, but fucking Pang twat
Do
blocked
you
her.
think Pang was there for a little while and just like picked the moment
Ye-
that
yes,
like the ugh.
yeah, because I was enraptured. That's what I'm saying. Like this, like she was like into what May was saying, and Peg's like, absolutely fucking not. I remember you're a spy, bitch. She's like, I haven't been a spy for 2 episodes. Get out of here, Peg. The fact that like
It's
Peg and Jan cannot see that I has not been a spy since the moment she met May is wild.
I forget she has a sister most of the time
Yes,
when she's with May.
she sure does. So does May.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then poor May is like very hopeful, being like, "I do you want to hear about this thing?" And then we cut away from May to I. And I looks like she's ready to like throw hands with Pang because I think she was really into what May was saying. And also now
Also, now
May's
she's not staring at May, and
well,
like
yeah.
obviously she's gonna be upset about that.
She's upset about that, and then she's like, "Okay, May's alone on the sidewalk, and she almost got injured a second ago." So like a lot of like worry and pissed offness is going through I right now. And Pang is like, "Girl, bitch, you're a spy. Do you not understand? This is our opportunity to catch May in her lie of being blind." And I was like, the bitch just almost walked into a sign. Like, I don't think you're right about this, Pang. Like, I literally just had to save her from a street sign a second ago. Like, she was staring at it and like almost hit it. And I was like, she's like, "I don't know, Pang. I think you don't know what the fuck you're talking about." And I have to say that Pang, even though she's not correct about this, if it was the novel, Pang would be correct. But here she's not correct. But she does prove that she's a better spy than I, because not only does she like pull I away from May, she like pulls her far enough that there's no way May can overhear what they're saying. So like, good on you, Pang. If this was I, it would be 3 steps away, and May would be like, "What are you whispering?" She's like, "Damn it, she's a bad spy."
Did Pang learn that from Officer Hottie? From like maybe she was actually listening to her the first like week that they
Right.
dated?
Right? When she was actually interested in Officer Hottie a little bit. Yeah, she probably did.
When she was like trying to get herself more interested in Officer Hottie to distract herself.
Yeah. I think so. I
But
think this comes from
also,
Officer Hottie.
best worst case scenario for Pang, she gets rid of May through
Yeah,
this.
so like you said in the last episode, Pang is really invested in May being the villain of this story, and she needs to prove this to I, because every time she sees I is more and more enthralled by May. She's like, "We need to stop this." And you can see it in her body language in the wide shot where you have May standing in the sidewalk and you have I and hang off to the side. Pang is very desperate in this scene. And you can see the way she's like clinging onto I, like she's like holding her hand, like clinging onto her, which she doesn't do. And I think she's so desperate to get the two of them on the same page when it comes to catching May, because she thought that I was choosing her way of thinking when I was like, "Hey, I want to take her to your plant shop." So I think Pang was like, yes, I's finally, we're back, Pang and I or whatever. And then this does not go as Pang designed because I was like, bitch, I'm not playing games with her. Like I thought I'd take her to your garden because it's like peaceful and shit, not because of nefarious reasons. What the hell, Pang?
Yeah, it's not the trees we have to worry about. It's the signs on the way.
Yeah, apparently.
But Pang, again, she's very jealous right now. I don't know if she even thinks of the fact that if May is not pretending, you just left her right next to the road by
Yeah.
herself, and she cannot see. She can hear it, which is terrifying because like all these cars are passing by you really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, Pang doesn't care. I think Pang is so confident that she's right that that thought never entered her mind.
And then even when I's trying to pull away from her to get back to May, because she knows that we left May and May really should not be alone because I just saved her from a sign. Pang keeps on pulling her, like holding her to her. Did that make sense?
Desperately
She keeps
clinging.
a hold of her. Yeah. So, like, was she subconsciously trying to get May killed in this moment? Because I do think that she would be the one to resort to murder for love.
Oh my
Not
god.
May. Like, that, there's a reason her mind went there.
Yeah, I think Pang is on that level. I don't know. I think subconsciously, perhaps. I think she's just so desperate for herself to be right and for I to come back to her, is basically what she's doing. That she's doing this extreme thing where, like, it's clearly not going on. She's like, no, 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 it's fine. At the last minute, we'll see that she's not blind. So, and it does not pan out that way. But, like, Pang does change her tune by the end of this. So, there's that. So, I don't, yeah. It's possible, though. This was fucked up, Pang. Super fucked up. Okay, so to your point, I and Pang start arguing because this is fucked up. And May then gets the sense that something's wrong because I doesn't think she's cool and this is weird. And she's like, where the fuck are you, And when there's no response, she starts like swinging her arm out to try and like feel because like I does that shit where she just goes quiet out of nowhere. So it's like not like
Yeah.
super out of nowhere for I to just like stop talking. So she's like,
It's
"You
very
there?"
plausible that she's right there.
Right, it's super plausible based on I's behavior. But then she doesn't feel I anywhere. And to May's credit, in this scenario where like danger's real, she doesn't break character and like call her I by accident. I was kind of surprised actually she didn't go like I like by accident because she's panicking. She stays in character. She's like,
I think that so many scenes in this show, I'm like, how the hell is this girl keeping this up? It just
yeah.
shows that she's the best liar ever.
She could have been a spy for real.
Yeah.
Like for real.
Maybe
for
she
real.
is.
Maybe she
2.
is. Pluto season 2, and you're like, wait, what? She's like, they're married, and then she's like, I got something to tell you. That'd be so funny. Anyway. All right, so May can't find air quotes. So that's when I's panic escalates because her knight in shining armor instincts kick in, and she's trying so hard to wrestle out of Pang's death grip on her. And if you look at I, she looks fucking terrified because May is alone in a busy intersection or whatever the fuck, or next to a busy intersection. And this is just more evidence that I wholeheartedly believes May is blind. Like, she doesn't doubt her the way Pang does. And we've seen over the past couple episodes, there was doubt where she's like, I don't know, how did she bandage my hand? How does she do all these things? Or I was trying to catch her in lies. At this point, there's none of that on her face. She's just like, I got to get to her. She's by herself. So I think that I has crossed into the I believe May more than my friends territory.
Yeah, she's not letting the people surrounding her get to her.
Yeah, she's not easily influenced because she's actually the one spending time with May, and she's like, I'm the one actually with her, and from what I've seen, you guys are tripping, basically. So the longer this goes on, the more everybody starts panicking. So then May's panic starts escalating, and she starts screaming and just like flailing about because like she's a fish out of water. Like she's so vulnerable in this scene in a dangerous way. It's terrifying.
And with the way that she was like trying to put her arm out to feel for I, it's very easy to get even more disoriented. So now she's like
Yes.
not even sure which way she's facing. I mean, I guess she can hear the road, but again, she's freaked out right now. You're not going to be thinking clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
we see her become disoriented. And I love the way the camera moves and it makes you watching it feel disoriented as well. And it's just really cool how they did that.
Yeah, it looked to me, it's very quick. It's like maybe 3 or 4 seconds of the way they did the camera work to show that May's disoriented, but it looked like it was like a handheld camera. So it wasn't like steady or anything. It was like moving around. And they do this like tilted angle and they're like swerving the camera as May is kind of like swerving. And it's really like, it reminded me of that scene in Heartstopper that we talked about where Charlie was really upset and they did that really
Mhm.
fast up and down angle to show when he was stomping away that he was upset. It
Yeah.
looked like that, where it was like the camera movement was really fast and sharp. So well done to the directing because it really gave you that sense of just like the disorientation and panic that was happening with May. It's very quick. If you didn't notice it, go back and watch it. You like really feel like you're May the way they shot it. It's really, really good.
A really good use of the technique as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So that's our cue from the director that this situation just got real, like it's getting real, and it gets really dangerous because then a motorcycle heads straight for me. And I don't know the traffic rules in Thailand, but I feel like the motorbike shouldn't be on the sidewalk,
I feel like that's a pretty safe thing to think.
right? I know that there's like I know like in America, for example, or in some places, there's like bike lanes, motorbike lanes. But this had Braille on it for, like, visually impaired people to walk. I feel like a motorbike shouldn't have been on the sidewalk, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if this was a multi-purpose sidewalk. It just
Like,
seems like that's even more dangerous for blind people who are using this. That was my take on it.
because in America, we're not even allowed to ride our bicycles. Like, children aren't allowed to ride bicycles on the sidewalk. You have to ride
I mean,
on
people
the
do
street.
it, but they're not supposed to.
They do
Yeah,
it,
it's
yeah.
technically
You're not
illegal.
supposed to.
But anything
So,
motorized in America can't be on a like even an e-scooter, you're not allowed to be on a sidewalk. You have to be in the road because motorized vehicles of any kind are in the road, not the sidewalk. Because we don't have multi-purpose anything. Or we don't
mhm.
have like bike lanes that are, ubiquitous and things like that. It's all dangerous here because we don't have public infrastructure. Okay. So then the driver who's maybe not supposed to be on the sidewalk. Anyway, he's like, "Hey bitch, get out the way." And he starts honking to like alert her that he's coming towards her. And May, who's already disoriented, I think cannot process what's happening cuz she's already disoriented, right? And then something happens where May swivels right into the sign that I saved her from, which is ironic. And it looks to me like she hits her head by evidence of the screenshot that I found of film. It looks like she hits her head on the side. I mean, later when she goes to the hospital, there's nothing on her head, but like it looks like she like ironically ends up hitting the sign. Poor
And
film.
that's showing without I in her life. She is lost.
Yeah, and she screams ouch also. So it looks to me like she runs into the sign
Yeah.
like head first. By the
Oh my
way,
god, that screenshot's
it's
hilarious.
hilarious. Good job, film. But that was my take. There's no evidence in the hospital, but that's what I saw on screen. Okay, and then the motorbike barely misses May, and then May like twirls and like falls to the ground. Luckily, she's on the sidewalk and not in the street. Like this could have been
Oh my
awful,
god.
you know. And then we have the sound crew enters the chat and they're like, we're going to show you she's disoriented. So what they do, the ambient background music of just like the busy highway, then like fades out and transitions into this high pitched like kind of noise that drowns out everything. So to again show you that this is the pinnacle of May being completely disoriented, she's now injured and absolutely helpless, which is the opposite of what May wants to feel, especially like leaving her house for the first time in who knows how long. Like this is this is what she's trying to avoid so much because like this is the ultimate state for somebody to take pity on you, and that's not what she wants. And it's just like all the wind out of her sail with this movement. And I think like the noise is trying to show us that like that's a low point for May, you know.
She's so vulnerable right now.
Yeah, it's awful. So then I finally tells Pang to fuck off and breaks free of her and then sprints to May. And then when I enters May's personal space, that's when the high-pitched noise we're hearing stops. And all you hear is I saying May, May, May. And to me, that's like indicating that like May's world rights itself when she's with I, and then the like she's no longer disoriented, vulnerable. She now has like I with her, basically. Because she says repeatedly, I feel better when I'm with you, that kind of thing. So I think that's being reinforced the way they did the sound.
Yeah, I mean, that's her safety net. Now, like, when they're out in public, I is her home.
Yes. Even when they're home, I's the home.
Now.
Yes. So then I gets on May's level, like drops to the floor and like it just wraps May in a hug and like clings on her for dear life. And you can just see like all the guilt and the worry and everything all over I's face. Because when they're in this hug, it mostly shows I's point of view versus May's. And just I looks terrified. And she keeps saying, I'm sorry, over and over and over again. Because I mean, she almost lost May.
Yes. I mean, again, it's not her, it's Peng's fault.
It is Peng's fault.
This is all Peng's fault. But she's going to feel responsible because she was the one that was with her and got pulled away. And she couldn't get to her sooner.
Yeah. And then we do get a brief cut to May. And May just looks real confused. Because again, she don't know what the fuck's going on. And suddenly I's here. It's like, where the fuck was I? And then she like finally settles into the hug and like closes her eyes. And
yeah, we cut to May and we still hear I saying, I'm sorry. You start to see May calm down and you actually see her let out a breath as she closes her eyes and holds I even closer to her, and it's just showing you that this is her world. Like this is the proof that she is her safety net, because now she can finally let her walls down, where this was, oh god, just great job film, because that you could feel all of the relief,
yes,
and all the tension leave with that breath.
Yeah, because think about it, she's been terrified the whole time, almost died, and now she's like, I's here. So then she can finally relax and doesn't have to be like on guard for death because her knight in shining armor is here.
And while this is happening, once we get that tension release, we cut to Pang. And her face, it has to be the moment where Pang comes to terms with the fact that I does care about May. Like, before, she keeps trying to paint May as this villain, but she had never saw I and May together because they've always been in a May's house. I mean, okay. Again, any normal person would run to try and get May to safety, even if they didn't know her, except Pang. Okay, and the situation, again, is worse for May because she wasn't only left alone to get hit by a car, because they're literally right there, and we saw the motorbike almost hit her. But it was I who left her. Again, even though it wasn't her own fault. And May is probably fearing the worst at this moment because she lost her once. She's that abandonment issues of, will I leave me? I mean, we got that scene where she leaves overnight. Like that is another moment of her abandoning her, even if it's not like the typical abandonment. Like, she came back, but still it's that fear of, will she not come back this time? Like, what happened that she is no longer right by my side? And although, like, I did not actually abandon her in the past, she made this huge impact, and then she was just gone from her life. And because May has been hung up on her ever since then, it's going to feel like she just left her. And she did all these like huge things for herself. Like, she left the house, she took the bus, and She did all these things that she doesn't typically do because I was by her side. And now that she's alone, it's even worse because with your guard up all the time, she finally had her guard down because I was with her. And now Pang ruined that safety net for her because she's going to feel like she can't have her guard down because what if I just leaves?
Yeah. No, I feel like those are definite valid thoughts from May's point of view. And that is something she has to grapple with. But as we'll come to see, like, I can do no wrong when it comes to May, but May is really smart and strategic. And so these are things she has to think about when she's calculating her plans on like how to get I to stay. So I think she'll process the information and then like calculate it into her strategy basically going forward because you know, she noticed that like I spooks easily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but at this point, May doesn't know the wild card factor here was Pang that she wasn't calculating into her plan. Like I don't think she knows at all that Pang showed. Did I ever tell her at any point, be like, it wasn't a cat, May, it was Pang? You know what I mean? Did she ever tell her the truth about this?
That's a good point.
I
Because
don't know.
if we don't see it,
Right,
it didn't happen.
right. But yeah, for Pang, I think this is a big wake up call that like because she's been getting the sense for a while that like I is changing because of May, and this was a huge wake up call that like yeah, May is blind, and B, I's feelings are real. The way they just came out, and the way I pushed her away to go get May, like that also has to like hurt deeply for Pang. Pang.
Especially when you're falling for a girl you didn't even think was a possibility.
Yeah, no, I mean she's been harboring this crush for who knows how long, and like yeah, that hurts on many levels. All right, so speaking of hurt, so back to I goes then checks May for injuries because May fell to the ground, and to my point a minute ago, I is being super caretakey and like hovering and all this kind of stuff. And from our perspective and Pang, it's like we've never seen I do this before, like to this degree. Yeah, we've seen her in fight mode. She literally just fought Pang a second ago. We've seen her gay panic, sure, but this is actual panic. Like this is different than all the stuff that we've seen from I, because there is nobody to fight. She just has to like take care of May. And I think she's beating herself up for being like, you're in this position because I abandoned you for like 5 seconds. Yeah, Pang was the reason. But also, I could have fought Pang harder. I could have punched her or something. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I should have thrown hands for real. And the important thing about this is that in this scene, I is very, very unguarded with her feelings. Like, this is I being I, and she's just showing her whole hand about how much she actually cares. Like, her worry is palpable, and her body language also is very like she's on May's level. She doesn't let go of May for like a second. And by the end of this, I think it finally sinks in for Pang that I is no longer interested in investigating May. She's just worried about May the person.
And if it doesn't, it should. No. I mean, you should have known the first time she just completely forgot about the mission.
Yeah, but like again, it didn't fully sink in for Pang. I think here's where it sinks in that like this is not a mission for I anymore, and I is in too deep. I is compromised, very much so. But there is somebody who is still very much invested in investigating May, and that's Jan. So true to her word, Jan brazenly waltzes into the police station to go see Officer Hottie. And she walks past a whole ass officer without any issues. I don't know who that man was, but he should be fired for letting a civilian wander the halls of the police station unattended in an area I'm assuming she's not supposed to be in.
It's the confidence, Theora. You walk with confidence, you get access to everything.
It's really true. But usually you have to wear the uniform, too, to go with it.
I also don't know the rules of police stations.
Me either, but I'm
But
just assuming she's not supposed to be in any of these locations. Okay, so after Jan, dodges Officer Useless, she finds Officer Hottie, who is on her way to talk to the man detective assigned to Oom's case, the one who stole the file and was like, "This is over," that we saw in the other episode. And she's like, "Yo, director, or whatever, I figured something out," basically, and starts telling her what she found.
so Jan's doing what she's doing good at and is eavesdropping on what Officer Hottie is saying to the other officers because Jan's the best spy, apparently.
She's probably the best spy here because Pang almost killed the target. And then here's Jan, who's like, "I'm going to get Officer Hottie and get more info." And she stays true to that. So she like casually hangs out behind the wall so she can eavesdrop on this whole conversation. And what she learns from Officer Hottie and the man detective is that Officer Hottie uncovered that weird number that called Paul was from a Skype account. And she's like, "Hey, if we trace the Skype number, we can figure out who owns the account and then figure out who made that phone call because like we still don't know that as part of this investigation." And the investigator says what we said in the last episode. They're like, "This could be a scam call, you know." And the key word, sir, is it could be, but we won't know that until you investigate the number because that is your job.
But they don't do their job, especially when someone's trying to cover it up. Anyway,
Yes.
throughout this conversation, we do see, like, Officer Hottie does not get taken seriously in this. And it's very much confirmed if we didn't get it from the first time we see her at her work. And Jan seems to notice this and, like, sees that these officers are really the reason standing in the way of them actually finding out what the hell happened in this with this crash.
Yeah, I think this is very validating that Officer Hottie is actively looking into this and then her superiors are not because Detective Man insists, he's like, "This was an accident, let it go, girl." But Officer Hottie explains that she's really haunted by Oom's family who showed up and they just want to know what happened to Oom. And I think she's mostly referring to I, who like walked in her office wanting to fight her. Like, you know what I mean? She's like, "Well, I can't get the sister out of my head, you know." She seems so distraught and violent. And another really key point that, we got a sense of this when we first met her, but it's very confirmed here again that Officer Hottie seems very dedicated to her job and is really trying to like investigate every single lead and follow through all the channels and everything. But it's really evident that her boss is ignoring the evidence of this case and also Officer Hottie's input. And he's acting like it was already solved. And Officer Hottie's just a big nuisance now. And in fact, Officer Hottie reveals in this conversation that this man wouldn't let her review all of the material. She's like, "I was forbidden from seeing the autopsy report." Like, how do you put somebody on the case and then you're like, "You can't see the evidence. Good luck." Like, what a slap in the face to her.
Yeah, like they don't
Period.
trust her.
Right. It's like they don't trust her or they're, it's sexism in the workplace because they got to see it. The men, she can't see it. It just seems really shady and dismissive of her as a legitimate officer who's just trying to do her job.
Because they're not seeing her as a real officer. Again,
Yeah.
it's just a sexism.
Right. It reads as sexism to me, which, like, again, they're trying to cover something up. But, like, it definitely reads like that because of everybody's gender in these scenes. And bottom line is that Officer Hottie's doing her very best to advocate for Oom's family like a good detective, but she's shut down. And her boss is like, "Just tell them it was an accident and leave it at that."
And this whole thing with seeing Officer Hottie like try to advocate for Oom's family and just herself in this place. Like she is trying to stand up for like what is happening. She's like, "You didn't even let me see this. How can we say that this is solved?" And this makes Jan more intrigued by Hottie because of why not? Like this is a woman in uniform
Yes, number
trying
one.
to stand up for what's right. And Jan smiles as Hottie walks away and she's following.
Just getting feelings. I think Jan is also impressed with how Officer Hottie is following up on the suspicious number that she and I pointed out the last time they met. And the fact that Officer Hottie in this conversation is very clear she's not giving up on the case despite her boss telling her to just let it go. So I think that is also what Jan is impressed about. She's like, okay, if there's anybody I need to follow up with in this office, it's her, because she actually seems to try to like do shit. And we pointed out this was hella suspicious, and she followed up on it. So
yeah, someone's actually listening
yeah,
and
she's
taking them
listening.
seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Versus like, it was an accident. That's over. She's like, fuck the men in this office. I gotta follow her.
And Jan continues to walk around this precinct
She sure does.
without being noticed, apparently, even by walking by people. Except Officer Hottie, because Officer Hottie has a Jan radar.
She sure does.
Catches her right away.
Officer Hottie's is also the only person that actually does their job in this precinct. Is also that. All right, but before Officer Hottie fully catches her, Jan is like on her way to the superintendent's office and like ready to break in, and she pauses for a second. She's like, "Oh fuck, should I even do this?" Like she's asking herself, like, "What the fuck am I doing? I'm breaking the law." And then she takes a deep breath, readies herself, because she's like, basically, this is the point of like, how much do I love Am I really Oom's ride or die? And she decides to do it. And you know what? If that isn't the definition of friendship, I don't know what is. Like breaking into a police office to like figure out what happened to your bestie, that's love, bitch.
But let's just compare Jan and Pang real quick, because what Pang is doing could be illegal because it could lead to murder.
Yeah.
Because like she was holding I back from getting to May. But here, Jan is literally doing everything illegal.
Yeah.
Everything she does.
Every freaking thing. But again, because like they're the end game ship. So like Jan and Pang, you can see that they are ride or dies for their best friends. Like they are willing to do extreme shit for their best friends. So say what you want about Pang, she does love I, like in the end of the day. Yeah. Like as a friend, you know. Like, if the roles were reversed, Pang would 100%. Pang would have used her relationship with Officer Hottie to get into the... You know what I mean? She would have done all kinds of shit to get everything about this case if I was the one in the coma.
Yeah, that is true.
I think so. Okay, so then, all right, Jan's like, I'm her ride or die. This is for you, And she like tries to go into the door, and that's when Officer Hottie's like, bitch, what are you doing? And then she pulls her into what she realizes who it is. She pulls her into the secluded corner of the police station, and she's like, girl, I don't know what you're doing here, but you gotta stop before I gotta arrest you for real. Like, what are you doing?
Also, I feel like the reason that Officer Hottie's trying to get Jan to stop doing whatever she's doing, besides the fact that it's illegal, is because she probably knows it's going to be blamed on her if someone else catches Jan walking around. Because no one else is going to take the fall for... Like, Officer Useless isn't going to be like, oh yeah, I saw her walk by, I thought it was fine.
No, he'll never take responsibility.
Officer Useless is going to be like, I wasn't even in the building.
Officer Useless will be like, oh, it was a woman? I thought it was you. Because all women look the same.
Yes, I thought it was Officer Hottie.
Yeah, in her street clothes for some reason.
Yeah, Officer Hottie never follows the rules, even though Officer Hottie follows it to the T. But also, why does this police station not have security?
Listen, listen. Why are there not cameras being like, that girl is creeping around by the superintendent's office? Like, how long was Jan creeping around this precinct is my question. This is an all-day thing for her. It would be really funny in this conversation.
I need a time counter.
It would have been really funny in this conversation where she's like, hey, listen, Hottie, I've been here a while. You want to go get lunch? She's like, get out of here, Jan.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious.
Because she would so say something like that.
Right?
Because you know what Jan has? Jan has audacity.
She really
does. She casually compares her not being able to sneak around like the police
Station.
precinct. Yeah, station. With Hottie not getting to read the autopsy report.
That was insane.
How is that the same?
What's
thing, illegal, girl?
It's Officer Hottie's job to read that. You are a fortune teller that broke into a police station. Girl.
You're not even, she doesn't even go here.
Right, she doesn't go here. You're not the family member. Like, you don't go here. But she's got a lot of feelings.
We've already established you have no privileges in this building.
No. Zero. Like, literally zero. And she just, yeah, her confidence and audacity are off the charts.
But this gives Officer Hottie the chance to prove that she's a badass bitch, because she tells Jan that she did read the autopsy report, because if she doesn't go around the men, then she's not going to be able to do her job ever.
Yeah, which is so fucked up. And it makes me wonder, like, with these scenes, because at the very end of the show, when we do like the time jump and I's like, here's what everyone's up to, Officer Hottie was like, won some case where, and I wonder, and where there was an apology to her, to Officer Hottie, and I wonder if it had to do with all this bullshit she was dealing with at work, where like she was barred from doing her job. Like, they forbid her from doing her job, and I wonder if she like sued the captain or whoever's her superior is, or the police station, to be like, you guys are keeping me from doing my job and doing illegal shit in a police office. And I wonder if that's what that lawsuit was about, because they don't actually tell us the details.
Yeah, but they are corrupt.
For sure. There's this like literal workplace harassment that she's experiencing.
And now it's a great time to break for some brief messages for our Chaos crew over on Patreon.
Woo! The opposite of harassment.
So as always.
Yay!
As always, we really appreciate all the support that everyone gives us. And it really means a lot, because we still can't believe that, especially people on Patreon, that you love us that much, that you want more content. But we're so glad to have you there.
Yeah.
So let's do some shout outs. Our Chaos crew members on the Big A Ride or Die tier and above are Dana W, Amix Monzone _multi, Natalia, Danny, Cassie M, Here For It, Jill L, Regina B, and Monet F. Woo-hoo. And our featured Big A supporter members for this episode are Monica F, Amber, and Sabine W. Thank you so much for all your support.
Yes, if you're interested in becoming a Patreon member, just letting you know this now, please join from the desktop website, because on some mobile apps, you get charged extra by using the mobile app, which is ridiculous. So,
I will say, that app is Apple. Apple was sued. Now they have, we just got an update. They have, like, in the US at least, the default is the Patreon one, so it is the regular price. But just to be safe, go on the desktop.
Use the desktop.
It should be, the tier should be $5 for you to get to see all of our content, ad free, full length reaction videos, content early. It's $5.
Yeah. If you want the other tiers where you get bonus content, it's like $15, etc. But you shouldn't be getting charged extra by Apple. So, like, just an FYI.
Do not give Apple your money.
Do not give them your money. They have enough money.
Yes. But we did react to all of Pluto.
We sure did.
You can get all those full-length reactions over on Patreon.
It was a wild time.
It was a fun time. It was wild fun, and now we look stupid because
that's what it was.
That was the journey, and
that was the journey.
Entertaining. It's entertaining to go back and watch it.
Yeah, and it's all, again, that's the power of GMMTV. They do a really good job of storytelling so that the show is rewatchable in a way that gives you a new perspective when you rewatch it, because now you have different information and you're like, damn, look at all this detail they put into this show that completely flew over my head the first time. Like, now that I'm watching this, I'm like, you outed yourself so many times as and I just missed it all. So many times.
But also, that is why episode 2 is now 2 to 3 parts. Probably 3 parts just for episode 2 for us to talk about.
yeah, there's a lot going on. So anyway, that's our plug for Patreon. Hope to see you there.
Or just join our Discord if you can't afford $5. We understand. Not everybody can. Our Discord is a place for you to connect with us and also all queer media lovers who watch the same shows as you. It's a good time to connect with one another and find someone who's just as passionate about what you love.
All right. So with that, we follow I and May to the hospital. So I, like a good girlfriend, rushed May to the hospital. I was like, this is the level of guilt she's feeling. She's like, full body checkup, everything, all the scans. And they're like, ma'am, her elbow is scraped. I was probably like a wreck in this hospital and like yelling at doctors and shit because I feel like she's just so guilty and off kilter right now that she was probably yelling at doctors and shit. And they're like, ma'am, who are you? You need to sit down. Give her Xanax.
Oh my gosh, like maybe I should get checked out.
I know. They're like, are you?
Someone call psych.
Yeah. I feel, because this is just speculation because when we enter the scene, May's already been checked up and they're leaving. So this was just my assumption based on where we left I and then how May was doing. So anyway, May's mostly fine, but she's in a wheelchair at this point. She's got a bandage on her arm where she like scraped her elbow. No webcam, no thumbs up. Stop thumbsing up this. There's no bandage on her head, but she definitely hit her head on that sign.
Maybe it wasn't that hard, so she didn't even bring it up.
Yeah. But anyway, so I is very irresponsibly texting while pushing the wheelchair. Girl. But
we don't text and drive.
Right. She's texting and driving in the middle of the hospital, which she should not be doing. But she got a text from Pang, and Pang was apologizing for being a dick earlier. So, like, that, that takes precedent at this moment because Pang was killed May a minute ago. And I seems really, really absorbed in this text. Like, she doesn't respond to it, but she seems really lost in thought or, like, unsure of how to feel, what to say about this because what a thing for I to process. Like, her best friend basically wouldn't listen to her. When I was being like, Pang, let me go, like, this is serious, Pang did not listen to I. She was so absorbed in the mission that she wasn't listening. So, like, I think I is rightfully upset with Pang in this moment because that was fucked up from I's point of view. From anybody's point of view, it was fucked up, except Pang's. So anyway, so she's lost in thought, trying to think about like, oh my God, I can't believe my friend did this. Like, Jesus Christ. And then her demeanor completely changes when May calls for because I's doing the thing where she gets really quiet and May's like, are you still fucking here? Or is there some nurse pushing my chair? Like, are you here, And instead of like being serious about it, she looks kind of like a little sad and guilty and kind of broken when she's brought back to the present with May. It's almost like I isn't just upset with Pang, she's also upset with herself because I think she feels responsible for not only endangering May's life by proxy of Pang, but for letting May down, for like putting her in this position to begin with. Like, it is kind of I's fault because she's deceiving her about the the stuff and the fact that her friends are investigating May behind her back. And I think all of that guilt just like is coming to the surface here that's exacerbated by this whole thing where she almost like lost May in a way, or harmed May.
Yeah. And for May, with I going silent, seems like she's having some flashbacks to, like an hour ago. And I feel like May is just going to end up having I have to sing or hum when they're out in public together. Be like, you're not allowed to be silent that long anymore. But
agreed.
This time, I puts her, when she goes to Neil to talk to May, she puts herself on an uneven playing field instead of that scene where we had her go eye to eye with May. And by doing this, she's giving May the upper hand by kneeling in front of her because she's feeling guilty about everything that happened, which again still wasn't your fault, but she's like, May, this is all on me. She's giving her all the power.
Yeah, it's almost like I is like repenting in a way for what she did, putting herself at May's mercy in a way. Because yeah, I think she just feels really guilty about a lot of things, and this incident just blew everything up, basically. So with the body, and again, its key point is that, to your point, is that like also May can't see any of this. I is just doing this, so this is like a reflection of how I feels more so than like for May's benefit. But what she does do for May's benefit is that she grabs May's hands first to use physical touch to again alert May, I'm here. And I think I does this a little unconsciously because I think she got really scared when she thought she might lose May, like for real, like when harm might befall on her. So I think this is another way for I to be like, I'm not letting her go. Like, again, a betrayal of the way I really feels about May. So I think that's what's happening here. The physical touch is for May, but it is also for I. And May asks I if there's something wrong. Because today was fucking weird. Let's just throw that out. Today was weird. And May has been with I for a total of 3 days, and she's already learned enough about I to know that I is being fucking weird. And that says a lot because I is weird every day.
She really is from the very first second.
I was searching in her car for 2 days for something. Like, I's been weird since the beginning. But this was peak weird. And interesting in this conversation that like I also in the 3 days has learned a lot about May too, because she starts speaking in coded language, which is something that May does all the time. And she responds to May, I shouldn't have done that. And so like again, I think this is again the betrayal of I's feelings about the whole situation today. And since she said yeah, she agreed to do bidding, basically. And so I think she shouldn't have done many things. And also including, I think she's beating herself up about the incident with Pang, where she's like, wow, I shouldn't have let Pang hold me back. I should have broken free more soonly. I shouldn't have been lying to you this whole time. Like, this is peak I being guilty. And it comes out in the dialogue, too, about all the guilt she's holding when it comes to May, period. But May doesn't see the coded language for what it is, and she doesn't understand it because she's like, I don't understand. Like, you left me for a legitimate reason.
And let's talk about that legitimate reason. Because I said that she was rescuing a cat. Doesn't say, oh, let me go away real quick. There's a cat in danger.
She just fucks off to get a cat.
She just goes and rescues a cat. That's what her plausible excuse was.
And
that is just going. Go ahead.
May's also like, and the cat survived. It was so. It just kept going. How long?
It's like, you're a hero. You're a hero. It's don't worry about me. So you went to rescue a cat, but you left this little kitty cat abandoned on a busy road. Okay, But like, is that not going to make you feel guilty now? Because now you're a hero in her eyes for saving a cat?
No, she definitely, like, if you see I's face after May's like, no, it's all good. Her face is hilarious because, like, girl, you shouldn't have told her this lie either. And you know it. And her face says that. She's like, fuck. Like, she's such a bad liar.
I mean, I don't know what excuse she would say. I mean, she could have just said, hey, my friend showed up and pulled me away and I was trying to get away from her. Like, but she just talks forever. Like, you could have made up something that Pang said.
That's true. Then she'd have to explain who Pang is and shit, but
yeah. No, she could use Jan, though.
Oh, yeah, I guess she could, because May knows who Jan is. But then she'd be like, why didn't they come to the hospital? I's a terrible liar. That was a hilarious excuse, was she was saving a cat.
I want to know what the thought process was, because, like, again, she doesn't think things through.
No, she doesn't.
Like, did she see a cat? She probably saw a random cat on the road and was like, I was saving that cat.
She took a selfie with it real quick to be like, oh, yeah, I guess you can't. You just have to show it to me. Be like, look, no, I was really...
Put alt text on the image, so when it reads it's like, "I with a
I
black cat."
with a black cat. That was so fucking funny. She's such a, again, she's a disaster who, if May didn't know who she was, she'd be outed so many times.
Oh my god, no, she should so, like, Photoshop a picture of, like, this tree and, like, her just climbing a tree and then getting a cat so, like, when, May can see again, she can see this, like, ridiculously photoshopped photo, and it should
Oh
just
my.
totally be a joke because they should have had the conversation at this point that that wasn't actually her saving a cat, but I think that would be a very random, anniversary gift,
That would be
just,
really
like, a
funny.
framed photo to remember this random time.
Remember that time you almost died and I was the quote saving that cat?
'Cause
This
that's
is so funny.
ridiculous, I.
It's ridiculous. It's so fucking funny though. Okay, so obviously I still feels very guilty about leaving May. So as a peace offering, May gets real with her with some good old fashioned doublespeak. So she says the feeling of not being able to see doesn't just happen when I'm blind. It also hits me when I realize you're not by my side. And I think what she means by that is ever since she met like legitimately met her, like when they were younger, May experiences the world differently because of I. So when they were young, I gave May a new perspective on what it means to quote, fight back. Because when they had their conversation, like May is this little like dorky girl with glasses, basically, who's book smart. And then I was like, girl, fist fighting is not the only way you can fight back. People fight back in all kinds of ways. And so, like, that changed. Like, I was really wise when she said that. And May's like, huh, shit. So ultimately, what I said set May down this path of using her intelligence as her weapon and, like, hence becoming a lawyer, right? And so the bottom line is that May really what she loves about I, it's not just that I is her knight in shining armor constantly, it is not just that I is wildly attractive. The thing is that May values the way I sees the world and how she interprets things. Like she actually values I's intelligence because I's got more of this like creative mind and she kind of sees things differently. And I think May values that above everything else about I. And I think that that is why she clung to I's memory for so long. And now that I is back in her life, I think May is also terrified of losing her the way I is terrified of losing May. Because without I, May misses out on I's point of view, and that's what ultimately changed her life and made her think about the world very differently. And so like hence her becoming blind and then being like, "Oh, I can use my lawyer skills to empower people like me," right? And that's why she's joining all these organizations. That's I's impact on May. Like, I don't know that May, before she met I, would have done that, but like, that's how I changed her life, being like, hey, you can fight back against all this bullshit you see in the world by using your weapon, which is your position as a lawyer, your intelligence, this and that. And I think that I like inspires her to keep fighting. And that's why she's like, you're like my muse in a way, and I feel, I mean, and May feels like she can see again when she has I because I sees the world in a way that resonates with her. And when she shares that with May.
Yeah, and especially when I's by her side, it feels like May is more secure no
Definitely.
matter like what happens or any obstacles that are there. We saw that with the sign. Like she's not thinking like what could be there. She knows that she's safe because I's right next to her. And back to the last our last episode, but this episode on the bus, having I there is probably another motivation for her to stand up for herself
Yes.
against like this ableism that she is experiencing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cause yeah, that's exactly correct when it comes to May standing up for herself. I think we'll see a little bit of that later in the episode, I think, when her dad shows up.
I think
This episode? The next episode? The next
next
episode when
episode.
May's dad shows up. All right. But then, okay, so then May's being like, girl, my life is better with you in it, essentially, is what she's saying. So let's think about what this is like for I to hear this from May. The feeling of not being able to see doesn't just happen when I'm blind. It also hits me when I realize now you're by your side. Okay, so that's flattering for sure. But also, I is supposed to be breaking up with May. Let's not forget that. I is here because she's supposed to be breaking up with May for as a way to reset Um's karma because was two-timing and got married. Okay, so like she's also here to save her sister's soul, right? And we haven't gotten to that part yet. And here's May being like, you hang the moon in the sky. And I's like, well, for fuck. And so I breaking up with May is never gonna happen because I's initial response to May saying this betrays how she really feels. Because what I does is she puts her hands on top of May's even more and holds her even tighter, which reinforces what I said earlier. This is I basically saying, I'm not letting you go ever. That's her feelings manifesting. So in response to this, I gets really serious and apologizes again to May. Because she knew May was afraid of leaving the house. May said it again when she almost ran into the street sign. And today's adventure was an absolute nightmare and reinforces May's bias of being afraid of leaving the house. So like I feels like she failed in her mission to give May a happy day outside of the house, which is something she needs. And then she's like, now we're in the hospital and it's all my fault, basically, because I couldn't stop this from happening. But May, the opportunist, uses I's guilt as fodder to flirt with her. She's like, yeah, you did fuck up, I. And you feel real bad about this, do you? Well, then you're going to have to make it up to me, I guess. She's like, what are you gonna do? Buy me a house? What are you gonna do? Take me out again? And I lights up and agrees to do whatever May wants, which is really dangerous to tell somebody like
That
May.
is so dangerous.
Girl, you need to put the fine print. She's a lawyer. You can't just be vague. That was
especially with the lawyer aspect, but right. In general, that is dangerous
She's
to
like,
say.
Anything. So May's like, okay, anything. Well, there's one place I really want to go, in parentheses, with you. And I's like, okay, we'll do it. Cut to.
But you know. Okay, yeah, so we cut to, they're at the Bangkok Planetarium.
Yes.
Now, if this was real and May did not know that this was I, this would make a lot of sense to be like, oh, you'll do anything with me? Let's go to the planetarium. We'll get into why in a little bit. But when they get there, May is adorably grinning. Oh my god, she's so cute when she's talking about how much she loves the planetarium.
It's really cute.
Like, not only is she passionate about law, she's passionate about this planetarium. And it's a similar look to when she's with I. That feeling of being safe, relaxed. And this is, besides her house, this is another place where she can feel safe. And it's filled with good memories.
Yes,
which is a big thing.
Because May doesn't just do things without thinking the way I does. May is 10 moves ahead of you because intellectually, because she's a lawyer. So why did May choose to come to this place with I? Well, May mentions that the reason she loves this place so much is because she came here on a school field trip. And we learn later that this school field trip she came on is when she met I for the very first time. Which, as I mentioned earlier, that was such a defining moment for May. But also, like, it's full circle to bring I here now. This is where they met, technically, even though I has no idea what's going on. But for May, she's like, I get to come back to this place with I. Beautiful. Because she also says, like, when she eventually moved to Bangkok. She wasn't in Bangkok. She, like, I and she came here on a trip, went back to where she lived, then later on moved to Bangkok. And she said that, I guess this is when she was an adult, I assume. She would visit the planetarium often. And so I wonder if she was doing that because she was like chasing the memory of I, because that's the happy memory that happened at this planetarium, that's associated with the planetarium, basically. Or was she doing that hoping to run into I again? All of those things are plausible. But either way, this is full circle because she's bringing I to where they kind of like met-ish for the first time, basically. And while she's telling the story, I does not take her gaze off of May for a second. In fact, she starts like super doting on May without again being asked. She's like fixing her hair, and it's almost like she's being overly attentive to May now that she like almost lost her slash caused her real harm. So it's like I's feeling a little guilty, so she's getting a little handsy, which she wants to do anyway, but she's like letting herself do it, which is a big thing and worth noting.
Well, for I, this is the first time she almost lost her, whereas for May, she's lost I before. And again, when I went out to her car and like there's keeps these little things that she keeps losing her. Now this is the first time that I is feeling this feeling.
Yeah. Like feeling it from her point of view, not from the point of view of like, I have to let her go because that's what wants kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I feels the cut of being the reason that May was going to be harmed, or you know what I mean? Like, so that like puts into the perspective, like if I break up with her, it will feel like I'm doing it, and that's going to harm I now. I think I realizes she's going to get heartbroken in this whole thing versus just being like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm going to hurt this person for this is weird. But now I's really invested, basically emotionally invested in this. And I is a bad spy and proves that again because she lets all the pretense slip and brings up her sister, where she's like, "Oh, a boom comes here on dates? That's fucking weird." It's like, girl. And May's first response, though, because May knows what's going on, is to just laugh at this because it's I being like, I didn't realize my sister comes here on dates. And May just laughs because she knows that's what I's actually saying.
I was like, this question, I was like, is it a translation issue? Because this is literally her asking that, like, she came here on the. It's like, what is going on? Because you're supposed to be
Right. No, this is her. She's so rattled by today that she can't even pretend to be that's what I think they're trying to show us in this scene. Again, if May didn't know, I would have outed herself so many times as not being, because even with the language of her saying her name in the context, like third person, like talking about herself in third person, she would be saying, I come here on dates? That's weird. Like, it's weird either way, the way she's saying this. That's why May laughs.
Yeah, because it's like, you don't remember. It's like, you're not the one who's going to have amnesia. Okay? So.
Right. Did you get some amnesia? Like, yeah, exactly. This was wild.
Like, are you the one who hit your head?
Right. That's why May laughs, I think. She's like, oh my God,
But May does, like, she answers it like she's talking to I and not because obviously I is not even going to notice.
No, I didn't even notice she said that.
No, until like, I was like really focusing on, I'm like, girl.
No, I think she's so rattled today that she's just, all her guard is down, and I don't think she realizes it. That was the effect of almost losing May and all of her guilt coming to the surface. I don't think she can even pretend to be in this right now. Obviously, look at her. She's so bad at this.
But, and like, May just goes with it too and talks about as if she wasn't here. And we know that, like, May is a pro when it comes to making sure that she doesn't give up her position in this, like, that so give it away, that she knows what is happening. So it's just very interesting that she was willing to talk like this, didn't like make a joke out of it. Like, what, you don't remember?
Yeah, no, she doesn't tease I at all. She just, goes. I think because May is so happy to be here with I, she's like, we're not going to spoil this. This is a happy moment. Just, yes, you weren't super into it, but you seem into it now. That's her teasing that she does do. Because I is actually into planets and space and shit.
Okay, so.
But, I think that I, again, hit her maximum guilt limit when they were at the hospital earlier. And, like, she just doesn't have it in her to lie to May. Or the other reason that I think that she says this, where she's like, wow, my sister came here on dates, is just like, I wasn't thinking when she said it, which also tracks because I just does stuff without thinking it through.
Yeah. It's like she doesn't have a filter. Like, whatever she's
Yes.
thinking comes out of her mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
that is
Agreed.
exactly what was going on in her head.
And therefore,
She's
she said it.
getting worse at this. Like, the filter is disintegrating.
Yeah, because I think also she feels less guarded around May now. So then, yeah, she's just slipping up constantly in huge ways that would be alarming.
Way too huge. This was the hugest one.
This was so bad.
And we find out May has to go to this planetarium alone, which is very sad because you can see how much she loves it and wants to share it with people. Because doesn't like it. Also, that does not make look great.
No.
Because, again, we get limited knowledge of and so everything we learn is terrible. Like, why wouldn't you just go because May loves it? Like, you can't do it just once every couple months or something.
I know.
Like, just go, let her explain her, like, hyperfixation of planets to you. It's cute.
It is cute.
But it also makes sense why she would drag her here, because she said, because I said, I'll do anything you want.
Yes.
Because now doesn't like it, so this would be something she would cash in. So really, May is covering her tracks here. And it gave her the excuse to be like, okay, I know where we're gonna go.
Yeah,
because
she's fucking clever.
It could be that I knew that she didn't, but I knew that didn't like the planetarium and stuff like that. So if she would have suggested it in the beginning, if I actually thought things through, she would be like, oh, why would I go there? But she just doesn't.
I think May was thinking all those things. She's like, well, if doesn't like to go and I likes to go, then I have to play it this way. But like, I don't think May calculated for the fact that I doesn't really know I and were so on the outs with each other that they didn't know these things about each other. That's what's also really revealing about these conversations. Like, I really doesn't know And it's very evident in this scene that she does not know her sister. But May knows better than I does. That's the thing that's really sad about how far their sibling relationship has fractured. Whereas May, the outsider, knows them both, knows both of them better than they knew each other, which is so sad. But to your point, I think May was like, I have to calculate for this. Meanwhile, again, I was like, I didn't even know this about so you didn't have to go through all this trouble to play this game with me, May, because I didn't know any of this. It's kind of funny, actually.
Seriously.
May overcalculated, I undercalculate.
It's like the lawyer brain thinking of everything from every angle.
Exactly.
And it's just...
What?
Yeah. And you're lucky that I really doesn't think things through. Because if she really thought about these interactions in a logical way, instead of a, wow, she's pretty way.
Right.
Even from that point of view, I should be able to figure it out. But again, wow, she's pretty. It takes over.
This conversation is the personification of what Pang said, where she... Was it Pang or is it Jan? Who was like... no, it was Jan. When she was like, were you smooth? And I was smooth my foot. And then she's like, girl, if it went over well, it's probably because May wants you to think that you're doing well.
Yeah.
This conversation is a manifestation of that, where it's like, girl, you really fucked up in this conversation, but it went well because May wanted it to go well.
Yeah. And again, this is a lot to learn too, because now my sister now wouldn't go to the one place that May loves for her. So she's trying to make an excuse for and she says, maybe I'm up in the sky too often. That it made her not like this stuff. And I don't fully understand how that's plausible, but sure. But she has multiple airplanes as decorations in her room.
I mean, I guess she's saying, as a flight attendant, I don't want to be, it's close enough to space. I don't need to go visit it on my time off, I think is what she's saying. I understand that, which is not, I get that to a certain degree. I work in medicine, so the last thing I want to do is watch shows about medicine when I get home, because I literally do that all the time. So I think that's kind of what she's getting at. But being in an airplane and being in space are two different things.
Is not an astronaut.
No, I
okay?
know.
If was an astronaut, that would make sense.
Listen, it's I. She doesn't know That's the
Maybe
thing.
I thinks that flight attendants are astronauts. I don't know.
It also could be that. She doesn't know what does. She's like, what does do? Go to the moon? I don't know. Like, she doesn't know her sister. But regardless, I almost rolls her eyes before she says this because like she's like, what the fuck, She's so annoyed with her sister that she's like, I don't even know why you would not go here with May. So she makes up this excuse because she's like, I think she truly believes there is no excuse for this when it comes to And she's just like, I guess that's what she was doing. I don't fucking know. My sister's an idiot. Like, I don't think there is an excuse. And she knows it. Because I think I is so annoyed at the way she's perceiving behavior towards May because she's getting this repeated behavior out of these conversations with May from where just dismissing May's love. And I think that's really getting to because again, I wants to be loved. I wants love directed towards her. And her whole life, all the love keeps getting directed at And here's getting all this pure, beautiful love from May. And from I's point of view, she's like, keeps dismissing it like it's not this valuable thing that it is. And that's just pissing off I. Again, I coming off the cusp of almost losing May and being really emotional about it is like, fuck you, basically in this scene. And she's like, you can't take your girlfriend to the planetarium. What is wrong with you, Like, but May, who knows everything, this is when she decides to tease I, and she's like, well, you didn't like the planetarium then, but you really seem into it today for some reason. I wonder why. Which is May's hint of being like, I know you're not, and I'm into that.
Yeah, because now she's just pointing out whenever I messes up.
Literally.
Because like now it's just a game for her. Like let's see how many times I can mess up.
Without noticing she's messing up. Like, is May keeping track? These are all the times you fucked up for sure. I had to save you.
That's her journal. How many times I messed up? How many times, quote, messed up?
Yes. How many times did I basically directly say to you, you're not and you missed it? She's like, well, you seem into it now. So fucking funny. Okay. And then light bulbs go off in I's brain for some reason. And she's like, impressed that May figured that out by her powers of perception. And she calls her the master of perception. And it's like, yeah, girl. May for sure is the master of perception, and she also knows your eye. But from I's point of view, I think she's pleased that May pays that close of attention to her to figure out that she's actually into this right now. And in the conversation, May repeats things back to I that she's pointed out before, and it's evidence to I that like May listens to her and remembers what she says, which translates to the fact that May cares about her. Because I does the same thing. Like, I will just pick things up about May and be like, oh, you like this mug. Oh, you like this. Oh, you like that. Like, without being told, she just notices all these things and remembers them about May because she cares. And May is reciprocating that, basically. But in this conversation, I love that May is really having a lot of fun teasing I. And I knows it. So she asks, what else do you sense is going on with me, basically? What else do you perceive, master of perception? And that's when like the kind of the playfulness gets kind of sucked out of the room, and May looks genuinely concerned and says, you're acting weird today. Like, I can tell something's wrong with you, even though I can't see you. Like, something is going on. And then I is like, wait, I'm supposed to be So she's like, probably, I'm no longer a flight attendant, like you figured out. And I switched jobs, so that was jarring. I went from being in space or whatever flight attendants do to like delivering goods. And May insists, she's like, no, girl, it's not that you changed because of that. It's just today. You're being weird today. Which makes I pause, because in that, May is referring only to her, and she's not referring to like, because I's behavior is weird, not stuff. Because for 3 days she's been cosplaying and she's like, today you're being weird. So noticing that's again pointing that she pays attention to I specifically. And thankfully for I, she gets a phone call so she doesn't have to actually address any of this. And then we transition to really the weirdest part of the scene where I's like, well, May, I gotta step away to take this phone call. So then May panics and grabs I's leg and she's like, where are you going? Like, what do you mean you're going? Because she's fucking scared because of everything that just happened earlier today. And I knows that, but still takes the phone call anyway. And in my opinion, this was a bad move on I's part to take the phone call when May's, you literally just abandoned her not that long ago. Like, this was not great, in my opinion.
No, just take the call there. Just
Or
put
don't
the
take the
volume
call.
down so she
Be like,
too.
hang up and be like, text me, Jan. She would never know.
Yes, that is true.
You didn't have to take this phone call.
Also, from May's point of view, like, they had made a lot of progress since I went to look for something in her car overnight. And this whole day, they did. And this whole day is basically a setback in this because she doesn't know exactly what is happening since she can't see and isn't being told the truth, or at least all of it. Like, now she isn't on this she doesn't have the upper hand here because she most likely does not believe this damn cat story, because
no,
who would not say, oh, there's a cat, I have to go, like, say anything. And I can only imagine how frustrating this is to feel like the world is a secret around you. And there is no way for you to know the whole story. It's like, you can't see what's directly in front of you.
Yes.
Like, yeah, she knew that is I, and she knew all that because that happened beforehand. And she was let in on that. So she knows most of her world, and she was in her house. She knows everything. And now with the way that I's acting, and there's these wild cards. Again, she doesn't know the friends are
meddling,
investigating all this. So, like, now there's these unknowns that she can't factor into her analysis of the situation. Mm-hmm. So she is lost again. And now, like, this has to be even more maddening for her because she did have this upper hand, and now she doesn't have the control. Because she had control of this entire time that she's had with I, and now she's losing it.
Yeah, control is a really key word because May is somebody who needs to and likes to be in control of situations. And that was really, like, if you read the novel, like, May in the novel is, like, super controlling and stuff of just, like, everything. She's the mastermind behind everything. She's got a controlling bit of her behavior, and it's more prominent in the novel, but it's also, like, here too, like, with the way she curates her home and the way she tries to curate these interactions with I to, like, get them to go a certain way. And that's very, like, a lawyer thing to do, because especially a trial lawyer who has to control the courtroom and control the narrative and things like that. So, like, there's a lot of control built into May. And I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing or anything like that. I think it comes from her childhood when she was given no choice in her life and, like, took control back and then is so desperate to keep it that sometimes she goes overboard with the control. And, like, it makes sense how we got here with her. But you can almost see as, like, her visual impairment is a form of her losing control, and that she's learned to, we'll go through the whole trial with May when we get the flashbacks of, like, what it was like when she first lost her vision and, like, things like that, and how she kind of, like, got to where she got. But, like, where we see her now, she's in much more control of her situation. And that's why she's joining all these lawyer associations to try and control the situation. And so being in the situation with I just adds another element of like not being in control, because she actually can't control I. Like, not that she wants to control I, but she like wants the end game with I basically. And she can't actually control that. It's up to I also. So I think that that's also makes this whole thing really scary for May on a certain level, because like it has to play out one way or another, because there's another person involved that she can't control, and she doesn't want to control I. She just wants to end up with I. So she tries to control the variable she can to like get it to go in that direction, if it makes sense. And then you have I's friends who keep coming in, setting
Yeah.
fire to everything. And cats.
I mean,
that need
Tang's trying to
rescuing.
control things.
Yes.
But again, there is the wild card
Same with
of,
Jan.
well, first of all, I not wanting her, but also she doesn't know May.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think control is a good descriptor for May, and it explains a lot of her kind of behavior. But speaking of control, so I, much to our chagrin, does get up, walk away from May, and take the phone call from Jan. And Jan is calling to update I on the investigation. And they hatched the plan earlier where Jan was going to call the number from the police report, the mysterious number, and I was going to hang on to May's phone to see if it rings. That's why I has May's purse the whole day. She keeps checking the phone to see if Jan's going to call. And I's like, the phone hasn't rang once today. It's not her. She's fucking blind. Let it go. I think she's still mad at Pang. She's like, this is over. And surprisingly, Jan like agrees, does not fight I at all on this, because she learned that like, listen, it's not May. It was Paul's parents apparently all along. We were looking in the wrong direction. So Paul was drunk. So that's what was in the autopsy report, was the alcohol level in his system. So that's what they're trying to cover up, and by making Officer Hottie not go see this. So I guess Officer Hottie tells this to Jan off screen because she actually read the autopsy, and she's like, the bitch was drunk. He was drunk driving. His parents are prominent people in society. So in order to like avoid the shame to the family, they were just like, shut down the investigation. We'll say it was an accident. They paid off Meemaw, basically. They're like, we'll pay for the funeral and like all that kind of stuff. We'll take responsibility financially, but like, we'll never talk about this again because we don't want our son to go down as a drunk driver, basically, and have us look irresponsible. So they stopped the investigation. And I's like, oh, that makes sense because Meemaw's been cursing them for like 5 days. And so I guess that makes sense now. And then Jan's like, you didn't do anything bad to May, have you? Which, like, what a random question to ask. But, this is proof that girl really is a fortune teller, because you must have seen how today was going to go down with I and May. It was like, something bad happened to May? Were you responsible, I? The answer is yes, Jan. But, I's like, she's fine. She's fine. Look, she's fine. I took her to the hospital. It's fine, Jan. And Jan's like, all right, cool. We'll cross May off the suspect list for good. So that gets resolved in this episode from Jan's point of view, and then Pang learns the hard way it's not May. So now May is no longer a suspect. May is no longer a suspect. So you don't need to keep being fucking I. Which is what Jan says. She's like, okay, Jan, who knows the situation, who knows May knows that this is I, not and is like, okay, now that the investigation is over, you should really tell May the fucking truth. And she says specifically, May deserves to know the truth about Because from Jan's point of view, I think she was going along with this for a bit, because she's like, what if May was involved? We have an inside man, and we might need that for a bit before you like tell her what's actually going on. But now that she's off the suspect list, Jan's like, okay, you need to fulfill last request and actually like break up with her and tell her all this stuff, because she's looking for you. And so Jan's trying to push I towards May, and then she's like, tell her the truth, and I agrees in this conversation. Put a pin in that, because I'm going to keep bringing that up. I agrees to tell May the truth, and then hangs up the phone. And afterwards, when she hangs up this phone, there's a minute of I just kind of like standing there looking like a lost puppy. Okay? Because she'll never know the truth about because this investigation's getting covered up. So she's never really going to know what happened to her sister. And now she has to tell May the truth about who she is, possibly breaking May's heart and losing her. And also to tell her, my sister's in a coma. Also, she wanted to break up with you. Like, what? That conversation just got weirder. You know what I mean?
After they just came off this conversation where she's so excited to be at the planetarium.
After May keeps saying things like, I feel like I can see again when I'm with you, and like all these things. And now the more I gets to know May and May's love for quote this just gets harder for I, who's an empathetic person, period, to do. But also it's really evident in this episode that I is now emotionally invested in May, and so not only is May gonna get her heart broken, but so is I. And then in the scene, I's journal entry takes over. And we cut back to May, and we're seeing May through I's eyes, basically. And May's clutching the planetarium tickets and just smiling and beaming. Because from her point of view, she's so happy to finally get to share the planetarium, her sacred space, with I, her special person. She's like, finally, everything's happening. The planets are aligning, this and that. And then I's poetic journal entry takes over, and it's like, well, damn, she's not going to forgive me the same way she forgave Because what keeps happening is she's like, well, with the whole thing today, she's like, well, it's fine. Like, I forgive you. I'll always forgive you no matter what. But I's like, she's not going to forgive me because I'm not She was forgiving She loves So that's all be like replayed in I's like journal entry, basically. So that's I's big fear, is that when she comes clean, she's going to be the bad guy, not who was two-timing and doing all these terrible things, you know? And really with that, I doesn't have it in her heart, because she just told Jan, I'll tell her the truth. But in this moment, looking at May being so happy about going into the planet, they haven't gone in yet. She's excited to go into the planetarium and experience that. So I doesn't have it in her heart to like tell me the truth right now when she looks so happy. So I think I decides in that moment to let May enjoy the planetarium. So give May some happiness, because today was a clusterfuck. So she might as well have some happiness before we end this in a nightmare when I tells her what's really going on. So I think that's kind of why she decides not to do it now. But remember that I's made it up in her mind. I'm going to tell her the truth. Like, she's resigned to that fact that she has to do that for real, coming off this conversation with Jan.
Yes, the whole thing of finding the right time to not ruin, but like flip her world.
Yeah, to deliver horrible news. Yeah. Yeah.
And spoiler alert, there's never going to be a right time to say something like that.
No, I know, but I understand why she doesn't do it before they go into the planetarium, because she was just like, I really want to go in here, and I was like, okay, have this moment.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, they're literally outside this planetarium. It's not like they're talking about going there one day.
Right, exactly.
They're there.
Yeah.
But just a random note, when they're walking into the planetarium, they're both perfectly in sync with their strides.
Yep.
And I was just thinking about this. Like, it's easier for May to walk if I is in sync with her, and I is probably consciously adjusting her pace to be with May.
I agree.
And like, this is something I learned during the last Olympics, because I noticed in track and field, the runners, the blind runners, people were asking, well, how can they figure out where they are on the track? And it's because they have a guide, and the guide, they have to train together and make sure their strides exactly match, or else they're not going to be able to run. So it just brought me back to that. And it was very cool that they added this into the show. And I love that we get this wide shot to really see the whole time they're walking in. So it's not like a close-up, like, really quickly. So you really do see them in sync. And it emphasizes this. And it's a visual representation of their compatibility, and also a reminder that they're just part of the larger picture, and there is still an entire world around them. And it's not like they can be in their bubble. Like, they're a very small part of this whole world.
Yeah, I agree. And I do wonder if, because like, we'll get into it in the next episode, but there's like BTS of film and Namtam kind of like workshopping some of these scenes, particularly the cooking scene with May, where film had to like learn how to do all of that to like enact a blind person, like how a blind person would navigate a kitchen and how they would cook and all that kind of stuff. And like Namtam's just like there. It was like staring at her. She's like, I have to practice being in love with you, which is so funny. But kudos to you and your craft, ma'am. I'm not judging you. I just think it's really funny because like films do it all. Let's do it all the work, really. But I wonder if they had to, if this was a conscious thing that they did when it came to like training the actors, like how to portray a blind person and then how to portray the blind person's caregiver kind of thing. I wonder if this was workshopped at all or if they just did this. I'm just curious. I don't know for sure if there's BTS of this, but I know that they did learn the visually impaired acting and workshopping that specifically for the show.
Yeah, that's interesting. I gotta watch those things.
Yeah, we should watch those. The kitchen one is really funny because Namdam's just being annoying. Film's just trying to like learn what she's doing. Oh my god, she's so fucking funny. Anyway, so then they get inside the planetarium and they're in the basically big auditorium that has like the stars on the sky and stuff like that. And they're the only two people. So that's pretty romantic, meant to be, I guess. And I volunteers to be May's poetic tour guide to the galaxy. And she asks May, she's like, tell me what you want to see, May, and I'll describe it to you, basically. She's like, here's what we got so far. There's the North Star, there's Ursa Major. And I starts explaining, she's like, yep, that cluster is used to find the North Star, and that's how people navigate it. Showing that I genuinely is interested in this stuff. Like, without telling May, yes, I like this. She's showing her by the way she's describing stuff and her knowledge of this. So it's, again, really cute. And May starts smiling because this is proof. I just saying this off the top of her head, unprompted. It's proof to May that like they do have this in common. Like she's like, there's more reinforcement that like I is the one. Like we have this in common. She doesn't even realize it. I doesn't realize a lot of things, May. You're gonna come to learn that the more you get to know her. She's pretty clueless about a lot of things, but she's adorable when she's just being herself, and that's kind of the point from May's point of view.
Another alternate title. I doesn't realize it.
No, I doesn't realize. Literally, that Pluto, the series. All right, and unsurprisingly, when asked, what do you want me to describe, May says Pluto, because that's the title of the show.
And May says part of the reason that she likes Pluto, and I love this part,
so cute,
is because you can't see it with the naked eye, and it makes her feel like she isn't the only one blind. Which it gets you, because like, yeah, that's true. Unless you have this, I don't even know if you can see with a telescope, but like NASA's the only people who can actually see this thing, and we see it in photos, but
yeah,
you can't actually just look up and see it. You can only describe it. And that is exactly how her world is to her right now.
If you think about this explanation too, the other layer to it is like, it sounds very poetic what May is saying, which is something I would say. So again, like they both have that, the way they see the world is very beautiful and very poetic, both of them. They actually do have that in common. And this is like proof from May's point of view for me.
That's true as well. And also in a world where she feels othered, not being able to see Pluto just puts everyone on the same level. That's the universal design.
Yes. Oh, good point. That's a really good point. Damn, Caitlin, that was good.
Pluto, you're an important planet.
Listen, I'm here for these pro-Pluto women. That's all I'm saying. So after May and I bond over their love of the galaxy, May tells I had fun with you today. Despite almost dying, ending up in the hospital, I outing herself outside the planetarium. I think what May is trying to say, that it meant a lot for May to go on an adventure with I and then end up in her safe space, which is the planetarium, and nerd out about space with I. I think that's what she means and what she appreciates about today.
Yeah, definitely. Because like now she's in a place where she is happy. So when
Yes.
you're in the place of happiness, it's easier to forget all the bad things that just happened,
Literally.
even though they just happened.
It's
But
okay. I saved a cat, Caitlin. It's fine.
yeah, it
Duh.
was just a cat,
It was just a
okay?
cat.
She's a hero. She is
She's
a
a
hero.
hero.
Let's throw a parade.
Where's the cat, I? What did she
That is a
do
good
with the
point. Like,
cat?
did
Did
she
she
find a
yeet the
random
cat?
cat, bring it, and like let May pet it so it would corroborate? What corroborate?
Corroborate.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that's the story.
her story.
Well, I think May. I was probably like, again. I really want the scene where I was explaining this to May because like she was literally had to have been talking out of her ass, and so I imagine she was like, "Yeah, no, I saved the cat." And May's like, "Well, where's the cat?" So I was probably like, "Well, I saw you fell down, and then I had to like what yeet the cat back into
The
traffic."
cat ran away.
Like, what happened? Like, you know what I
No,
mean?
did you? Have you ever seen that video of somebody saving a deer from a fence, and then the deer, I believe it's a deer, immediately gets itself stuck in another
No.
fence?
Yeah, that's I with the cat.
I
She
think it does
saves
it
it
like
and throws
3
it right back.
times. Yeah.
That's literally what happened. She's like, but it lived. It lived, May. And then, like, I just want that scene where she had to explain that because it was a hot mess, her explaining the story to May. May's like,
I
okay.
do.
Never get a pet with I. Like, God.
Oh my gosh.
Never
Yeah.
leave I alone with pets.
Never leave I alone.
Never leave I alone. Yeah. It's May's journal. May's journal.
Also, I's journal. Never leave May alone.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
in both of their
Oh, that's
journals.
so cute. Yes. That's canon now.
So May says that she feels like she's on Neptune when she's with I. And that made me look into Neptune some more. Because I looked into Pluto. And we've already established that I is May's Pluto. So let's talk about science and astronomy, which is science.
No, May is Pluto. I is the galaxy.
Thank you. Whatever.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have
I
to
know.
consciously think of
I
this
know.
Pluto and galaxy thing because yeah.
Because May is the one that she can't.
Yep, that's
I
right.
can't see.
May is
Yeah.
yeah. May is Pluto. Yep.
May
So,
I
reverse
becomes
that.
May's Pluto in this conversation by the end of the scene.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, she's saying that she feels like she's on a Neptune. And Neptune and Pluto have overlapping orbits. I hope this argument still makes sense since I thought that I is Pluto, but we'll see at the end if I have to change it.
Let's do it. It's fine.
All right. So Pluto and Neptune have a 3:2 ratio orbital resonance. Again, those are big words. So this means every time Neptune completes 3 orbits around the sun, Pluto completes 2. So this prevents them from colliding, and the resonance is described as a kind of choreographed dance where their gravitational resonance keep them in sync. So we just saw the two of them, May and I, in sync walking into this planetarium. But this also brought me back to when we discussed the first time I and May met. Not met, but like saw each other again when, I was gay staring because pretty lady and feelings all just gay panic. And how I was circling May, but there was still that pull towards May. So I just thought that this was very interesting that she brought up Neptune because it's like it's the planet right before Pluto, but they still don't collide. And they still haven't they are colliding right now, but technically I is still pretending to be
That's true.
So they still have not fully collided yet.
Yes.
They can't be themselves.
So I love that extra layer to Neptune and Pluto. I think that still makes sense regardless of who is Pluto. So well done, Caitlin. I think that makes sense.
Thank you.
May brings up Neptune. So she basically explains that Neptune's the windy planet. Neptune, I also need to point out, is a queer Sailor Scout. in the Sailor Moon saga. So coincidence? She's also
Mm.
bringing up queer people. Good job, May. So all my Sailor Moon fans out there. Sailor Neptune's my favorite.
I have only heard of Sailor Moon.
So why the windy planet? So the windy planet, basically, it has unpredictable weather, is what she's getting at. And she's like, being with you is like being in a climate catastrophe, essentially. And I was like, why on Earth or why on Neptune is that a good thing, May? Being a climate disaster. That's not flattering. So May elaborates. She's like, she basically explains, lists out all these emotions essentially. And she basically says that when she's with May feels everything, the good things, the bad things, and everything in between, like happiness, sad, fear. She lists all these things out. Bottom line is, when she's with May feels alive. She says, you make me want to live on. You make me want to keep fighting, because that was I's initial impact on May. And based on I's behavior so far, I think this sentiment is also true for I, because she's having these intense feelings that she's never had before when she's with May. So I also feels everything with May. Today was fear, but happiness, sadness, all that stuff. Love's the last thing May says. I feels all those things too. And when she's with May, I feels alive. We've pointed out multiple times when I is completely unguarded around May, she gets really childish and like playful. She doesn't do that with anybody else. It's because she feels safe and alive for like the first time ever. And truly, when you find somebody or something that makes you feel like that intense kind of all-encompassing feeling, it's rare, number one, and number two, it's intoxicating. It's really hard to walk away from that because it's so unique and powerful. And that really is going to drive I's behavior going forward when it comes to her vow to like break up with her, come clean about Okay, so then when we cut to I's face during this conversation, so that whole thing really explains why I starts melting essentially in this scene. Like, her face is pure yearning. And if you watch her breathing starts changing, like it's heavy and quick, because she's having these big, intense feelings as May is describing this thing that I think is resonating with the way she feels about May. And she's like, fuck, we're on the same page. But I'm
Yeah. And now that I is starting to become scared of losing May, the roles are reversing, and May is becoming the galaxy. And I literally says it suddenly felt like I was Pluto. It's like, so she's realizing that now, oh, I could not be in her life anymore. And she's my whole world.
She's coming, because remember, she came to the realization that she has to tell her the truth about but she's like, she can't see me because all she sees is and when I tell her the truth, she's not going to forgive me the way she forgave So she's basically coming to the realization that like she's going to fall out of the galaxy when she has to like tell the truth. That's what she's scared of too.
Yeah. She says that she is destined to be forgotten.
Yeah, that's so sad. Oh my god, I is so emo. The thing she wrote. Remember, these are journal entries. Like, this is such emo or journal entry.
But the thing is, she's focusing on the wrong part of Pluto's story. Because she's focusing on the one that's based in sadness instead of the beautiful story that we've been talking about, which is the determination and fighting for what you believe in. Because we talked about how Pluto is a representation of someone you miss who made an impact on your life and are no longer in it. While sad, it's still beautiful because you did make an impact on someone. So like no matter what, like that impact is a very important and amazing thing. It's a connection. And Pluto isn't being forgotten. It's beloved planet. Like literally, we're saying it's a planet. No matter what, it is a planet. There are people fighting on the internet. It's a planet. This is really random tangent, but there was a video of Anna Kendrick saying that she would never call Twitter X. And someone's comment was, just like how Pluto will always be a planet. And I just love how like that is just brought up casually, because this is such a big thing that people are still fighting for it. Like, just because you feel like Pluto doesn't mean you're going to be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could still be fought for. And also, again, another example of Pluto not being forgotten, I just wanted to bring up. One of the kids I babysit has like a solar system decals on his wall, and that set has Pluto in it. But instead of erasing Pluto from the solar system, the planet actually came with a sticker on top of it, and it says Pluto was kicked out of the Planet Club in 2006.
Oh my God.
But it's still there. It's still there. It did not get erased. And it just made my heart happy to still see it being included, because Pluto is still in, like, obviously Pluto is still there because it's a dwarf planet, but it's not like the solar system with the planets. Like, it's not the Planet Club, but it still is in that orbit of the planets because of the people who believe in Pluto so much and connect to it. And because May believes in I will continue to be in her orbit because May is going to fight for her. Again, I just doesn't know what is happening, but she won't be forgotten.
No. And just the way, like, May has been I's Pluto the whole time, and I has no idea the impact she had on May, and the fact that, like, May held on to her feelings for her this whole time. Like, May, like, I has no idea the irony of what she's saying, essentially, which makes this fun. And we'll get to unpack that more later. But after I comes to this really emo realization that she puts in her journal about how the bottom line is she's really resigned to the fact that she's going to tell her the truth. And I is processing what that will mean for her, which is that she's going to lose May. And she has to deal with that, basically. And it's hard for her, which is totally understandable. Because, again, intoxicating feelings. So afterwards, we get this montage of May and I just exploring the exhibits in the planetarium. Like, they look at, like, spacesuits and read stuff about the planets, and they just kind of, like, are exploring. And May is really cute. They make it a point to show that May is, like, reading the Braille and just, like, beaming. And she's just having the best day, and it's so cute. Like, May is just so happy in this scene. And meanwhile, I is just watching May having a great time, and I kind of oscillates between being in awe of May and just like watching her being happy, and then just like being like sadness, because again, she's resigned to the fact that she's gonna give up May and fade into oblivion when the date's over. That's basically where her brain's at right now. But that's a later problem. And right now she's with May for what might be her last time. And so I uses her time wisely to just like really, I think she's trying to like memorize everything she can about May. That's why she's not looking at the exhibits. She's looking at May. Okay. And I think on some level, she's just letting herself feel what she feels. Like, love is written all over I's face by the way she's staring at May with just adoration, and just, it's sad that you can like actively seeing her heart break at the same time. And then I's journal entry pops up again to let us know how she's feeling about May. And she says she's charming and mysterious. So it wasn't surprising that someone weak-minded like fell head over heels for her. Like, girl, the way she describes her sister is so harsh. What the hell? And
everything she's learning right now isn't good.
Girl, yeah. And it's like, damn, I don't know how to feel about this when I'm like, girl, you're doing the same thing, but really judgmental towards I think she's just jealous at because Oom's not going to be Pluto when this comes out. I's going to be the forgotten one, not because May wants according to what I knows, right? So I think she's partially jealous of in a way, which fits with their whole rivalry that they've had, not rivalry, but their rift that they've had going on for years now.
She's kind of Pang's role in this.
Yes.
Like
she's Pang. Kind of, yeah. She's like,
not as extreme.
No,
I mean, she's extreme in the fact that she is still being her sister, but
She's not actively endangering people's lives right now.
Yeah.
Just their emotions. So, okay. So then I also note something really interesting in the journal entry. She's like, I've come to notice from hanging out with May that May is incredibly smart. So I was like, I don't believe for a second that May would be a victim of two timing and that May had no idea was getting married. So like, despite all the bullshit, I was like, this part doesn't make any sense to me because now I'm learning how intelligent May is. And like, there's no way she was tricked by because she's like, is not as smart as May. So like, how the fuck did that happen? That still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it really doesn't.
Well, look at her thinking about things that don't make sense.
Right,
and add up.
look
at her progress. That's
the-
growth.
The best spy thing that you've done is being like, this was weird, but then she tells nobody about it.
Also, it was after the mission was technically over.
Listen.
Then she becomes the spy.
Yeah, but that's I for you. But like her journal's really funny. It just goes from like, dear diary, my sister's an asshole, to being like, May is the smartest, prettiest woman ever. And then it gets really emo. And then she's like, May was the star I can only glimpse through the telescope. Like the way I writes this journal is so funny. And I like this line in particular. It's so emo and dramatic. Like this is something a dramatic teenager would write about their crush. Like I love it so much. And I think it's really appropriate because I and May in this montage are having two completely different experiences at the planetarium. Okay, because like May is actively engaging with everything and having the best day and just smiling nonstop, while I is not participating. She's just watching May and staring longingly at May while her heart is actively shattering. So yeah, it is like she's watching her through somebody else's lens and like not. There's a distance between them, right? You can see it in the way they're not interacting really in the scene. There's one moment where I like helps her touch the spacesuit, but like I is not participating in the exhibit. She's only participating through May, really, which is interesting. So I thought that description was really spot on for this whole thing. Anything to say about the exhibit before we transition to the last scene?
It's just also because she's not really seeing all of her. She's very much mysterious.
Well, it's like you can't fully see. It's like looking through a telescope's like looking at a photograph. It's like you can't fully see everything. You're just seeing one dimension of something from a great distance. So that lines up with what you're saying too. So I think it's a very good description for like where they're at. All right, so
I just love the planetarium scenes.
They're very cute.
They're great.
And heartbreaking. And well done. So after the planetarium montage, we transitioned over to May and I heading home. And although I learned nothing about taking phone calls away from and leaving May unattended, I did learn one thing from today's adventure, which is not to take public transportation because that makes May uncomfortable. So they take a taxi home, like that's a private car and not public transportation, because I think this is another way that I is trying to like make the end of the day happy for May. So like she took the anxiety of public transportation away from her.
Also, they already left, so it doesn't matter if they make sounds coming back. Well, it's still not, it wouldn't be a car, but they don't have to like sneak around.
Why would they sneak around?
Because when no, I think I might be remembering something. They took the bus because they didn't want to take a car and alert him that they were leaving.
They didn't want to take one of May's cars and steal it.
Yeah.
But I mean, they also could have taken a taxi the first time. But I think I was like, why would I pay for a taxi when we could just take public transportation? They could have taken public transportation back. But I think this is I's way of conceding that like that makes May uncomfortable. Let's do this. Even though it costs more money, it makes her happy. Plus, the advantage of the car is when they're alone in the back seat, they can cuddle the whole ride home, which I, the cuddle monster, takes advantage of. And while they're in the car, I's journal entry voiceovers continue. And she basically says that she still feels May's love for which is annoying. Yes, I is very annoyed by this. But the most annoying part is that didn't appreciate May's love for her. And that's what I've been saying the whole time. Like, that's really what I's pissed off about. Because I literally cannot imagine doing this to someone that loved her. Because she's so desperately wants somebody to just love her. And it bothers her so much that she wrote this in her journal. And
but like,
yeah,
that is
that's the root
from
of it.
her point of view right now. Is not appreciating it from what she's learning.
Was like, go break up with
just
this
go
woman.
to the damn planetarium.
Yeah. Even when they were together, was like dismissive of May, and then she's like, go break up with her. And then I's like, this woman is super in love with you. Like, what the hell were you doing, And then this is all of I's thoughts are so ironic once we get point of view. We get there when we get there, but like, that is not what was going on with but it's important to remember the journal entries. Again, that's I alone writing this stuff down. We're hearing it through a voiceover. This is how I really feels about love. Okay, these are her unfiltered thoughts, right? And this is how she feels about May's love in particular, because later she's going to make the decision to walk away from May at the very end. And this puts I's motives into perspective, right? That like she can't imagine just willy-nilly dismissing somebody who loves her. So like that will tell you that when she does do that, the motivation is that's not why she's doing it. Like it's not something she would do lightly. She has to have a very good reason for it, kind of thing. So then I's voiceover continues, and basically we learn that her feelings towards are very complicated by the fact that she's actively deceiving May, and that is eating I alive. Like, she feels so guilty about this shit. And as the voiceover concludes, I grabs May's hand and like settles her cheek against May's head. Because again, in the present, she has May, but she knows she has to give her up. So she's like savoring the moments she can while the guilt is just eating her alive. And May, who knows none of this, is just smiling. And they do the thing from Blank where they both like close their eyes at the same time, which is super cute. And I don't know if that was planned, but it's super cute. And that's how it ends.
Well, we're ending on a very sweet place.
It's bittersweet. It's sweet for May because she's like, bittersweet, yes. And then I's like, oh my God, my heart's breaking.
Yes, that is true. But if we just focus on them cuddling.
Yeah, it's cute.
And don't focus on which I was trying not to focus on everything going on in the background.
Valid.
But now it's to the point where, again, she's like knows that now she has to tell her. So it's harder to forget when you're like, oh, I can't live in this fantasy anymore.
Yeah, that's really true. All right, well, since we've talked for so long about just this part, we're going to end this part of the episode here. We'll come back and conclude episode 2 in 3 parts. This is going to rival Blank, everyone, in case you're wondering.
It really is.
It's going to rival Blank.
Put your guesses in now for how many pages our full series notes are going to be.
Whoever's closest will send you merch. Just how many pages is this whole thing going to be, our notes?
12 episodes of Pluto. We don't even know how many episodes it's going to be. Our notes are not done for the show yet.
No.
So.
No. Let us know in the comments. And any final thoughts about this episode? I have a Taylor Swift song. Do you have a Taylor Swift song?
I have. Boy, do I have a Taylor Swift song.
All right. I'll give mine real quick. So I think my Taylor Swift song that goes with this episode is Starlight from the Lover album. This is the song that's like, oh my, what a marvelous tune. That song. But there's a passage from it that I really like where it goes, look at you worrying so much about things you can't change. You'll spend your whole life singing the blues if you keep thinking that way. He was trying to skip rocks on the ocean saying to me, don't you see the starlight? Starlight, don't you dream impossible dreams? So to me, that's like, don't you worry so much about the things you can't change. That's literally this whole episode, right? Where I is trying to grapple with the business, her secret identity, all this nonsense. And also like, May and I are grappling with their situation period, which is like the impossible dream. I wants everything to turn out okay in the end. May wants I. That's the impossible dream at this point. And the starlight part also is I like because that's good imagery of like their Pluto, metaphors and their planetarium time and how like starlight can be magical and fantastical, and that kind of goes with like their poetic nature of the two of them. So I think that's a good song for this part of the episode.
Also goes back to like the metaphor of I saying it's like looking in a telescope at a star.
Yeah, totally. Starlight.
That's great.
Dream impossible dreams.
Again, this is why we have a Taylor Swift section, because Taylor Swift songs are so relatable to everything we cover and life,
Yes.
which is why she's great at what she does.
Indeed.
Okay. So I brought up the song Ivy in the last episode we did. And I have put some more thoughts together. So I just wanted to go through some parts of the song to show how this fits Pluto. So part of the song is, "Oh goddamn, my pain fits in the palm of your freezing hand, taking mine, but it's been promised to another." So I is feeling that pain from not being able to fully have May, and May is the one holding her love. But this is a double meaning, because May is the cause of the pain because she's the person that I is falling in love with. But also May is holding this pain because she does know the truth that this is I, and is causing this to go on longer than it has to. I mean, technically they both are, but May could really just be like, "Hey, I know you're I really like you. Can we go to this planetarium and just bond over the solar system?" But so with May not saying anything, this is pretty cold and is making her hand freezing. So she's holding the love.
That all tracks. And then I've been promised to another. That's
Yes. And the next part is, "Oh, I can't stop you putting roots in my dreamland. My house of stone, your ivy grows, and now I'm covered in you." So stop you putting roots in my dreamland. So again, I is dreaming of just being with May, and the love she has is the ivy that continues to grow. And I is this house of stone and is consumed by the love. Like, we see that May is really all I is thinking about, except again, even now, because she's thinking about the fact that she has to tell I. Everything is about I. She forgets that her sister's in a coma.
Listen.
Like, it's not until like the next episode that like we get more that she can't forget that her sister's in a coma. And I is stone because she never really found love like this before May. And just more about like the ivy part of it. There are some arguments that ivy damages stone walls. So ivy will grow and fill into the cracks into the stone, then enlarge, causing the wall to be unstable and also concealing the problems that it's creating. And we see that May has been filling these holes in I's life because she's been yearning for love and someone to see her and appreciate her. So that's that ivy. Like, May is implanting herself in I's life at this point. But it's also, do you have anything to say about that?
She's breaking down I's emotional walls is what it is. And that came out hardcore in this episode.
Yeah. And also, it's dangerous to remove ivy because it can dislodge more stone. So
it's invasive.
It's just going to break. It's going to break I even more to take May away from her. And we do see that happening right now because like it's being threatened to remove May from her life. And if you try to kill the ivy, so you're trying to kill the relationship, the attachment. So this is what I found. Direct quote: "The attachment system continues to work even when ivy is dead." So ivy is like the love that they have. If you cut ivy at the base and leave it to die, the wall surface will still be marked when you pull the ivy away. So I is forever going to be affected by this love that she has for May, even if she isn't in her life. There's still going to be that mark that she has on her. And that's exactly what happened with May.
Yes, goes
I
both
left that
ways.
mark. I was the ivy that was killed at the base at that moment that she lost her.
And you would think Pang the gardener would know this.
Mm-hmm. But just like Pang's not thinking everything.
No, Pang is a lot like I. Only half-baked ideas.
That is why they're friends.
Yes, why they're friends.
But there's also arguments that ivy protects stone because it protects it from like extreme temperatures and weather because it's literally covering it and creating that shield from the external forces. And we see how May complements I. We see them in sync in that one scene. And really, May and I's relationship is symbiotic, where May is healing I's childhood and all those feelings and of loss and like yearning for love. And I is helping May to grow in terms of her confidence, of her fighting and just getting through life. It started in high school and like continues with I helping her out in public. So, Ivy, I did not know that Ivy could mean so much.
Taylor Swift did, though.
Taylor Swift knew a lot, and we're going to get into it even more. I'm going through this pretty quick. So stick with us if you're interested. So the next part, I wish to know the fatal flaw that makes you long to be magnificently cursed. He's in the room. Your opal eyes are all I wish to see. He wants what's only yours. So right now, the fatal flaw, and she is still here. Although I does conveniently forget that. Like, yes. The fatal flaw in this relationship is that exists, and I can't fully be with May because, it was girlfriend. But however, she did tell you to break up with her, so that's a whole thing.
It sure is.
Then it goes, clover blooms in the field, spring breaks loose, the time is near. So clover is a symbol of luck and good fortune. And I and May continue to be in this relationship where they are getting comfortable. But the next part of the song is, what would he do if he found us out? Because is always looming. There's this force. Not Paul. Paul's dead. Alive. Just in the hospital. So the rest of this part is, crescent moon, coast is clear, spring breaks loose, but so does fear. He's going to burn this house to the ground. So I, in her head, keeps going back to the fact that will wake up at one point. They don't know that for a fact. Like, it could be like she's like stuck in coma, but there's that possibility that is going to wake up, and she's going to be pissed if she found out that her sister is still pretending to be her when she was supposed to break up. Because again, in I's brain, she was just supposed to be there that one moment and leave. And with crescent moon, coast is clear. A crescent moon is a symbol of new beginnings, growth, and transformation. And I did a very, very, very quick search for how that relates in Buddhism. And I got the description. It can provide a profound connection to the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. I apologize. I butchered that name. And it opens up a world of potential for awakening. So, like, this is I's awakening.
Yes.
This is a whole new world for her. This is the crescent. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic point of view.
It is. Oh my gosh. Just like this whole song, first of all, between Taylor Swift and like how it really does relate to what is happening right now. Like the imagery is great. And then one of the ending parts is, so yeah, it's a fire. It's a goddamn blaze in the dark. And you started it. You started it. So yeah, it's a war. It's the goddamn fight of my life. And you started it. You started it. So like, this is the biggest internal fight of I's life. Because it's between wanting who she loves and not thinking it's for her. So it's like, yeah, I want this, but I can't have it. And it's May's fault because she exists. Okay, so like Un's technically the one who started it. I fell into it, but May is the one keeping it going. Like May is continuing to keep this war going. Like if she would just tell her, she could relax more. They could have a conversation. And
yes.
and the song ends with, "Now I'm covered in you," because I is full in on this relationship. She's consumed by this love for nope, May. Sorry.
She also loves her sister on some level.
She does love her sister, but she's consumed by May.
Absolutely.
And will be.
Yeah.
So great job, Taylor Swift.
Good job, Taylor Swift.
Great job.
Yay! And that was really good. Thank you, Caitlin. Ivy's a fantastic song in general. Pooja, what'd you think? I think you're probably the only one still here. But
yes, let me know.
There's somebody else on YouTube who likes the Taylor Swift song. Let us know who's listening. Secret word is Ivy. I just decided. Because I want to see who actually listen.
Yep, secret word's Ivy. All right, we're going to put that word here and now and then give the Big Gay Energy Award for this episode.
Oh my God.
Which is just part 3.
The Big Gay Energy Award, I have to give it to May for being like, take me to the fucking planetarium. Because who knows how long she was waiting to do this. And then she just pounced on that opportunity and was like, well, we're out. Take me here.
Also, just the way that I stared and just let May go on and on about her love of this planetarium.
So cute.
Just like the supportiveness. But also, Officer Hottie being like, bitch, I did read the autopsy report.
Yeah, girl. Officer Hottie pulling rank with Jan. That was fun. Yes, Officer Hottie. I'll give it to that. Man. I forgot how good Pluto is. There's so much shit going on this show. It's so fun.
There is so much, and it's so easy to forget these small details, so I do apologize because
that's why
I know I forget things from episodes.
Listen,
even in the episode, it's just like there's so much to dive into.
There's so much. You guys asked for it. We did deliver. So hope you enjoyed this part of the episode. We'll be back next time to conclude episode 2. So until next time, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And gay up all over the place.
Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.